So can you see my screen now?
Yes, but yeah, it's now in the presenter mode, so you can go forward. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Razan, for the introduction, and thank you, everyone. Thanks for inviting me to this amazing forum and to this topic or the webinar topic, women in pharmaceutical or general women leaders in the field. So thanks so much. And so quickly, I'm not sure. My name is Nashwa Nashaat. I'm a pediatric oncologist. I started my career by doing like 9 years of clinical practice. And after that, I shifted my career to the pharma. After 9 years, I spent 12 years in pharmaceutical industry. So between Novartis, Eli Lilly, and Johnson and Johnson, where I've learned a lot of things, and I'm so excited to share it with you today. And finally, as the second major change in my career, by starting my own business or startup, it's related to healthcare, but mainly in the technology part. Um, so let's start with the famous question and or the famous terminology that we used to hear, which is diversity and inclusion. In the recently, we started to hear it's inclusion and diversity. So what comes first? Is it diversity or inclusion? Yeah, and here is actually because this is very important because we can have a workplace that's diverse and have a lot of diversity of people, but since there is no inclusion and true inclusion, so diversity is meaningless, or sometimes it's the consequences of more diversity without inclusion is horrible on the business, on the culture before business as well. So the answer here is it's neither diversity nor inclusion. It starts with mindset. So first it's the mindset, then inclusion, and third is mitigating the bias. And here, it's very important when we look to our organization or the organization that succeeded to have this balance of diversity and inclusion and to promote women leader, more women leader in the leadership team, or even as the workforce or the total workforce. It starts with the having the growth mindset, and this is very important because yeah, it starts with the recruitment. It starts with the leadership team and how they can set the tone, cascade it down to the organization. So a fixed mindset, those but naturally, we always had an idea that we believe that our traits, attributes are fixed. So we largely gotten by virtue of our fortune of birth or the place of birth, the rising while we were children, that and the effort and determination won't change anything in what we are. By contrast, the growth mindset, which is very important, is the idea that yes, we are all different. We had different backgrounds, we had different places, different childhood, different circumstances and environment. But hard work, determination, and the right strategy we can grow and develop it. And here is the secret behind a successful organization in terms of including or have the true inclusion culture for its employees, and it's reflected for definitely on the leadership roles of females in this organization. So it starts with mindset, then inclusion comes. Diversity is counting heads and inclusion is making head counts. And this is very important because when we look at diversity and inclusion, we don't look at just at numbers. So how many females are presenting in the leadership team or in the total workforce. But the most important thing is what's the role of these females? Are they all included in the decision making? Are they able to voice out their ideas, to talk and to raise their concerns very openly and in a safe environment or not? So it's very important that we started to see a lot of numbers and statistics, or even some companies are showing their target of females either in the workforce of leader or in the leadership. While when it comes to inclusion, we find that it's not an inclusive culture, and this is very important point to take care of. Sorry, I want to share with you that just what we are talking about in terms of number or representation of the leadership of the females in leadership team or senior position by study that was conducted in 2018 on over 1,000 of pharmaceutical companies, and to reveal that what's diversity and inclusion. Sorry, it wasn't in pharmaceutical, just pharmaceutical, but in the total companies or from different industries. And here you can see the representation percentage of females in different industries. So if we look at the healthcare, it's 10%. So it comes with the second lowest after the transportation, logistics, and tourism, which is the healthcare and the pharmaceutical, with the females representation. And but in general, if we look at these numbers, actually all the industry are lacking the females leadership within across different industry with different percentages, but at the end of the day, it's still very low. And if we look at the regions, we will find that the big chunk is going to North America, and then it's Asia Pacific and Europe, then followed by Latin America, and the least is for Africa. And this is very clear in many different statistics and in real life. So what is the issue? Is it the issue in the workforce, in the recruitment, or it's the issue of hiring or giving those females the opportunities to grow and to take leadership positions? And here is what we called it the broken rank. So in 2019, and I will touch base on the pharma in comparison with other industry here. In 2019, a study was conducted, and it revealed that women represented about 48% of entry-level jobs across all industries, 21% of the C-suite leadership positions, and which was 6 and 24% increase versus 2015. That's over these 4 years. And if we look on the other hand, on the pharmaceutical industry, in specific, in this study, we will find that women held like 60%, near the 60% of the entry-level position. So it is not an issue in the hiring. However, that number decreased significantly throughout the range, with just 24% at senior vice presidents or director positions and 25% in C-suite positions. So here is the gap. So this is the gap of taking a step forward, taking a career advancement for a leadership role. And the quick fixes for this, it's so easy if we focus on the first step. In 5 years, if we just did an equal movement for women and men, not just in the hiring phase, we would move millions of women ahead in the management. And creating a healthy talent pool with a greater representation or equal at least representation between males and the females, that we can fix it very quickly over the 5 years of any organization. And this is what was shown by different models in this study. In pharma in specific, if we talk for the gender disparity is developed within the pharmaceutical companies, but in particular with the commercial world, especially in the sales fields. So we can find more females in maybe in the medical affairs, in the quality, in the manufacturing side, GXP related functions. But when it comes in compliance, but when it comes to the commercial team, we find even on the recruitment or hiring phase, we will find that it's significantly less than males. And this study was conducted on the top 10 pharma companies in 2018. And it showed, as you see, that this graph represents the number of males versus female on the executive committee. And you can see here in blue the male and in red the female across all the big pharmaceutical companies. What we can see from this figure is that number of men are greatly exceed the number of females across all levels in different countries. But when it comes to the executive board or executive committee, we will find in these top 10 pharmaceutical companies that only 34 females out of 133, that represents 22%. So female represents in general or overall for these two top 10, 22%. Only Johnson & Johnson and Pfizer are leading in this. However, still there is a gap in the representation of the females. And if we look at this graph, so number of males versus females on the board of directors, we will find it the same. It's almost 29 or 30%. If we look at the number of males versus females in leadership roles, so we will find that in the leadership team, not a single leadership team has an equal number of males versus females. And in the top, on these top 10 pharmaceutical companies, women are accountable for 25% of leadership team, according to this report. So this reveals again that there is an issue in the career advancement of females in the pharmaceutical industry. It's the healthcare, although the healthcare industry in general, we can find that more females as a workforce, more females than males. However, across the different sector of healthcare, we will find that the executive level or director or leadership levels, at the leadership levels, the females are underrepresented across all. So what do pharma employees see? What do pharma employees see this unequal opportunities for females in the leadership level? So this is a survey or pulse survey that was conducted almost on the same scale of companies across the pharmaceutical, and they found that the overall sentiment of diversity was 52% net positive and 31% negative. So this is in the form of diversity, and also diversity has always a matrices for measuring it by number, so it's very easy to track and to calculate it and to see the number or control the numbers or the figures. However, the overall sentiment on inclusion was markedly worse. Only 29% was positive about the inclusion, and this is confirm what we just mentioned, that yes, inclusion is more important than diversity. We can control or we can have a diverse workplace, but it's not inclusive. So it's revolving all the differences across this organization. Leadership and accountability as it pertains to inclusion and diversity, accountable for the highest number of mentions from this inclusion issues that's not supported by the leadership team. On average, across industry, 51% of total mentions related to the leadership, and 56% of those mentioned has negative sentiment. So it's yes, tone has to start from the top. So leadership team has to tackle this pain points in pharma industry, and this is really revealed by many surveys that it came to the growth mindset, came to the leadership or top management, global top management or leadership executives, that they are responsible for creating a non-inclusive culture. Because yes, we can say a lot of things about diversity and inclusion, but inclusion in specific, it came from action, mindset, action, culture embedded in the organization, and it needs really change in the mindset and discipline in the execution of tactics, and very clear tactics for having inclusion mindset or inclusion culture within the pharmaceutical. So it starts with mindset. More diverse companies still face in tackling inclusion. Hiring diverse talent team is not enough. They can, if they not have an inclusive culture, definitely they will not remain. Tone from the top leadership is very important in setting the tone of true inclusion culture within the pharmaceutical industry. So why we are talking about inclusion or female leaders in pharmaceutical industry? Is it just something that's ethical, value related, or even a trend in the world, or it's directly linked to the business and the business results? When we have more female in leadership position, this in pharma industry and in healthcare industry in general, we will have more success. So let's see. If we look outside the pharma industry, or outside, if let me say it, if we are talking about worldwide across all industries, for the enterprises, we will see, or we will find that almost 40% of companies are owned by women. So this is against what we were just saying, that females are underrepresented in the leadership positions, either in pharma companies or in globally across all industries. So women who own the enterprises, definitely, we are talking about 40%, definitely this represents a big chunk, especially that these enterprises, in terms of value, it represents in the top quartile of the business worldwide. Psychologists highlighted that their resistance to stress, ability to cope under pressure, better work organization, and team playing skills made them very successful in owning companies or in owning business. Females by nature are very committed, are very disciplined, and this helped a lot of women to own big enterprises. And if we look at the startups, we will find that percentage to be 60%. So it's when it comes to leadership, when it comes that capabilities or competencies to lead, yes, women have a very strong leadership capabilities to lead within the organization. Thus, it seems that women are not less resourceful than men, although it does not translate into career advancement, especially when it came to the pharma industry. So talking about the business side, from having more women in the executive team or leadership positions, executive teams with more than 30% women are more likely to outperform those with fewer leadership females in the leadership team by 48%. So it's almost 50% more or more achieving their target or outperform those with less or fewer representation in the females. Gender differences in application of tactics. If we look at yes, so we just mentioned about the strategic part. Let's see regarding the tactic or application of business plans. And here, the colorful part is related to the significant differences between males and females. So we can see in the consultation, in the rational arguments, women are more powerful than men. Also in the inspiration part. And we can all feel it or see it among the females in the workplace. So we can also find that females have more passion towards what they are doing. Females are more have a systematic thinking methodology. So they are expert on the consultation, and if we translate it to in the leadership roles, so they are expert how to coach people. So in terms of leadership, this consultation or coaching part in the pharma industry, when a female lead a team, that's we find also that they are developing talents more than, and this is by statistics, more than male leaders. They are expert in inspiring others. So they have this emotional intelligence. They know how to give how to motivate and inspire others based on these personal needs, based on a very high level of emotional intelligence more than males. They are emotional, they understand this point very well. And in rational argument, because females have this thinking methodology of stating rationale, and they are persistent in argument as well. And this is why in implementation of tactics, female are even or exceeding the expectation always in the business setup. Not only this, but also what we call a discrimination cost index, which is very important to be considered as a price of organization pay when they stay on the sideline or fail to focus on diversity and inclusion. Failure to embrace inclusion in the workplace can lead to costly and burdensome of the brand image, the loss of goodwill, the loss of a lot of things in the marketplace that accelerate the employee turnover and other direct and indirect costs. Overall, companies in bottom quartile for both gender and ethnic diversity were 20, 29 or 30% less likely to achieve above average profitability than others. So from all aspects, from productivity, from keeping a healthy work environment, from or team development or talent development, as well as the cost of failing to focus on diversity and inclusion. If we look at these all and take it into consideration, we will find that there is a huge impact of having female leaders in the pharmaceutical industry. As I just mentioned, that women as leaders and or managers, they are very expert in developing talents. And this is because of number one leadership quality that's today is in focus or in the radar, which is empathy. So if we look at empathy, which is the highest and the greatest quality to have in a leader, that's we can find it in females. Maybe it's yes, significantly better than male leaders. It's also because their ability for active listening, their ability to put themselves in the shoes of others, and also for female leaders, this part of patience. And this is very, it's very important in in developing talents, very important in coaching poor performers even, which we can find it significantly higher in females. More women in pharma means better patient centricity. If we are talking nowadays about the personalized medicine, personalized health, and precision medicine, we will find that it's all about patient centricity, and patient centricity comes from empathy. And since we have this quality, personal quality that's in general highest in females than males, so having those decision makers from females that will improve the patient centricity and the healthcare in general. So to sum up, for pharma companies need to have a systematic and business-led approach for inclusion and diversity. Bolder action on inclusion. Yeah, I had this experience before that when we started the era of diversity and inclusion, we were talking a lot about diversity and inclusion. We had a lot of campaigns about diversity and inclusion. The HR set for us strict guidelines in hiring process, but after like 2 years, we found that there is nothing changed in the matrices, true matrices of inclusion and diversity. And this was because the statement that was mentioned at the beginning of the presentation, that diversity does not mean inclusion, but having a clear inclusion guidelines for all employees, for all leaders, to be implemented and to be watching until, so fake it till you make it, till it becomes a real culture in the workplace. So leadership and accountability for delivering inclusion and diversity goals, enabling equality of opportunity through being fair and transparent, increase diverse representation, particularly in leadership and the critical roles, promote openness, tackling biases and the discrimination and microaggression. And that's why this is the key for inclusion, that's unconscious bias and microaggression. So tackling it through direct and indirect ways, foster belonging through support of multivariant diversity, either in gender diversity, ethnic diversity, are on all of this. And this is very important to set the rules and to have it from top down and by time this will lead to a healthy inclusion culture. And here it's like just not for pharmaceutical, but for us as employees and leaders, what to do, and final tips for having this kind of opportunity for being in a leadership position while we are females. So work-life balance. Work-life balance is very important, and it's more challenging for females rather than males. So it's very important to take care of this point of work-life balance. Be present, whether you are with your family or at work, and be clean on what's important to you. A lot of us feeling like social guilt that we are often deal with around the balancing between family and work. So please don't feel guilty. Have your own space, have your family, your personal needs and work as well. And this is very important to boost our confidence when dealing with it's in work or in the even in the social setup, to have there is no guilt at all to have both, to have family, to have kids, and to have work commitment as well. And the time management is very important, is the key to balance, the discipline of knowing what's important, the urgent and the important. And because females are seeking perfectionist always, this in turn making this equation very difficult to be achieved, that's work-life balance. So take care of this perfection, because sometimes it's exceeded what's the limits, and it affects our sense of satisfaction that we are doing well in our business as well as in with our families. Establish mentor, and this is really very important. Be open to men and females or women with mentors who can teach you a lot and different things. And I remember that one of the things that maybe it was a life changing, not just career changing, that was my mentor. She was a lady, and yeah, but the point was that it was all about me being open to the feedback, being open to the formal and informal feedback, learning and fostering the relationship with others, listen for feedback from those who I believe in and who not. Taking the feedback is not like a criticism, because we as females sometimes we prone to be more emotional, so it's very important, and mentorship is here playing a very important role to have this feedback openly, and nothing to affect our moral or motivation level. Women can be their worst enemies, and this is really very important and thing to watch. Here will be people, men or women, will try to hold you back or be competitive. Focus on your goal and just always try to be supportive to others. Women are often hard on themselves, because, as I've mentioned, that we've tried to seek perfection. So focus on being supportive and encourage others as well. Try to be supportive to each others as well as kind to ourselves. And for our employees, delegation is a very important task. And this is because we seek perfectionists. We are prone to delegate less. So delegation is very important. I remember that this was across my career was a very challenging part to do efficient delegation. So this is very important point to be considered. Provide prompt feedback, both positive and the negative, sometimes because we are too considerate to the emotional aspects. And sometimes we feel shy to say negative feedback, but just give constructive feedback. Mention the positives and the negatives equally in order to help your employees to progress in their personal and business aspects. Push decision makings to the lowest appropriate level and develop employee confidence. This came from delegation and the efficient delegation. Act fairly and does not play favorites. And this is always relates with being emotional, having this kind of likes and dislikes. So be careful of this part. Use knowledge base to broaden the range of problem solving options for direct reports and help them to build a constructive a structured business decision making process. Explain, answer questions, patiently listen to concern when implementing a change, because it's always difficult when we as leader do change. So be patient, be more empathic as much as you can, interact with the staff in a way to develop motivation. Don't forget this part. Don't forget if sometimes we are emotional, yes, but we are tough on ourselves. So sometimes we are dealing with our employees with this setting very high standards and try and prone to be tough. So just motivate everyone around, motivate your employees, actively promote direct report to the senior management, develop employee by providing the challenges and opportunities, set a challenging climate, and foster the competition or the healthy competition mindset for individual growth, reward hard work and the dedication to excellence. And I always, I was at the beginning of my career when, or the beginning of people management opportunities I got in my career. So I was setting the bar very high to myself and so for my employees. And this um, was or created a lot of frustration for employees, especially for males, because I cannot measure everyone on my standards. So reward hard work. Don't forget to reward and to inspire your employees. Find and attract highly talented and productive people, and above all, the quality of personalities we are hiring. Those are the next generation. Those are people who will endorse inclusion and diversity, and thus the healthy culture, and to reach to the desirable workplace, which females are good represented from the entry level to the executive level. By this, thanks so much for listening. I finished my presentation, and this is a quote from Men from Mars and Women from Venus. When men and women are able to respect and accept differences, then love has a chance to blossom. And this is goes in personal life as well as in business. Thank you, and please, I'm open for any questions.
Thank you very much, Dr. Nashwa, for this very nice presentation and for the valuable knowledge that you share with us today. And the stage now is open for any question. If anybody have a question, you can write it in the chat, or you can unmute yourself and ask your question. Okay, and meanwhile, I have one question that is specific for the MENA region, the Middle East and North Africa. It's harder there for a woman to become entrepreneur, and it's always more challenging than comparing to Europe or US. How do you find the way to reach that point in Middle East, and how we can tackle that?
Yeah, you are 100% true, and this is thank you for raising this is very important point in our region, that females either as entrepreneur or in leadership positions in corporates, they find very difficult or difficult time and challenges. And for me, it wasn't that easy from the beginning, and having even or reaching to the decision of leaving the pharmaceutical or leaving the corporate life and starting my own business wasn't easy at all. But I went through a very long journey that both the number one, believe in myself. So believing in ourselves is very important, and this is what we sometimes, because as I mentioned, we set the bar very high. We see always ourselves that we are missing a lot of things, that we are not there yet. Although if we evaluate ourselves fairly, we will find ourselves are capable to do a lot of things that or we have still we have a big potential. So to reach this level of fair evaluation to my capabilities and my competencies and what I'm able to do and what's not were very important. Second thing is the self-awareness. So being aware or open with myself to have or to tell my areas of development or gaps that I have, because no one is perfect, give me a great chance and opportunity to have this my career progress that's ended with a decision that I'm capable to establish my own business or to start my own company, and even attracting male talents from the corporates to work with me. So it was all about my being in peace with myself, with my gaps, with my things that I always work on them, or saying that I am mistaken when it was I had to say it. this not for just people around me, but for myself. And it's all, I mean, it's a cumulative things that be aware, self-awareness, know your gaps and know your strength, have the confidence of your strength and the faith that no one is perfect and we all complement each other's, building on my strengths, not my weaknesses. And this is, and this, I wasn't like this at the beginning of my career. I always was very harsh on myself when, I always remind myself with my gaps or areas for development, but I learned it how to build and capitalized on my strength rather than looking to my weakness or areas for development. And from here, I talk it, yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much for the answer and also for the presentation and for your time for participation. And now I guess we have reached the end of the conference today, and I would like to thank all the speakers for their time and dedication. And I also would like to ask all the people who have participated in this conference and for questions, and we hope that you all get benefit from it. And we hope that you enjoy the conference, and we wish to see you in the next conference all, and wish you all nice evening or day depending on your time zone. And thanks again for being here.
Thank you.
Okay, goodbye.
Goodbye.
Bye. Thank you.